ahead and get started. So I'm going to turn it over to Liz with UIC.
Hello, everyone. My name is Liz Herrera, and I'm the Director of Career Development within the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences here at UIC. We are grateful for our partnership with Parker Dewey, and we're very excited to share this resource with all of you. One of the things that we value about this partnership is how easy and accessible this platform is for our students, but also for our employers. And it's a great way for you all to connect with our very talented UIC and liberal arts and sciences students. So thank you for being here and just being interested in learning more about Parker Dewey and ways that you can recruit students for your micro internships. And having said that, I would like to introduce Emily Kravitz from Parker Dewey, who will be leading our presentation today. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's our privilege to count UIC as one of our more than 800 partner colleges and universities. So again, a special thank you to speak with all of you today. And on behalf of our UIC partnership, we very much appreciate it. Just taking a quick look through the poll here. It looks like we've got some that have selected all of these options, which is great, with build or strengthen recruiting relationships with specific institutions. And then we're hoping that means that UIC is sort of the primary goal, which is great. And because Parker Dewey partners so closely with UIC and makes it, as Liz said, very easy to get micro internships going as a way to enhance what you're doing with your early talent recruiting, I'm really especially excited to talk to you all today about how it all works. So let me go ahead and end this poll for right now. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as well. And we will get moving. All right. So a quick background about us here at Parker Dewey. We've been around now about a decade. Since our founding, we've been 100% focused on creating real experiential recruiting opportunities for employers to engage all your prospective candidates. And we use something that's called a skills first framework to see it in action. This is time tested and proven. We've really perfected it over the last 10 years. We've improved it to make it very accessible for all your early career hiring needs. We've removed the friction, the paperwork, the hassle that typically results when you're trying to connect with college students, which really makes it easier for you to capture the data and respond to changing needs, which is especially what maybe your leadership is looking for right now in a time of so much change happening with budget cuts and layoffs and sort of uncertainty with what's happening with campus recruiting. And my role here at Parker Dewey is to work with all of you employers with any of your questions, helping scoping out projects, getting access to our platform. I'm happy to do a demo for your team. Just whatever you need help with from here on out as it relates to the Parker Dewey platform. Now you've put a face to the name, and I'll be happy to connect with you after this. And I will share my contact information at the end of the presentation as well. I also want to mention that this presentation is being recorded, and when we're done chatting today, you will receive a copy of the slides as well as a copy of the presentation if you would like to share it with your colleagues or your team. So what exactly is a micro-internship? Want to make sure we jump right into that from the beginning. In short, these are bite-sized experiences that are both engaging to the students, which drives them to want to learn more about your organization, and also is really easy to keep them engaged after they've shown interest. It also allows you to quickly see their skills in a way that's not necessarily captured from just a resume, and before you start investing a bunch of time. And this is really what feeds our platform. As you can see, the investment to get projects posted typically is really small, less than $600 for the most part. We have a great partnership with a funder that's going to actually give you options to post projects at no cost, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But in general, it's really not cost prohibitive to work with micro interns. But again, these are short-term, paid. All the students are always paid for these projects. They run typically between 10 to 40 hours for the most part. They are not meant to replace your traditional summer internship or anything like that, but they're meant to be an enhancement to what you do for recruiting. Each project ends with a student deliverable. And once a student turns in the deliverable to you, they are done with that micro internship. So it's not necessarily a temp, for example, where you have them for 6 months temping for you. Really, we're going to want to have a defined start and end where they're getting that work done in approximately 40 hours or less. We also get a lot of questions from employers about how the pay process works. So first of all, there's no cost for you at all to use our platform, to create an account, to post a project. If you post a project and you don't see a student that you like, you can close the project out and there's no sort of invoice or bill or anything like that. The only time that there is a cost involved with micro internships is if you do hire a student for a project and it's outside of the funded program that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. And so I'm happy to answer more specific questions because today we do have the advantage of having this funded program. But students have also told us time and time again that this is exactly how they want to be recruited. And we usually have plenty of students interested in these opportunities. So it's really easy to post a project and get a great pool of students really quickly. I also want to share that Parker Dewey remains the employer of record the entire time. The student is on our payroll and not yours, so you do not have to worry about administrative burdens like legalities or putting them into your payroll system for a 40-hour project or anything like that. We get their payroll info, we process their pay when the project is over, and if they earn more than the threshold, the micro intern also receives their 1099 tax form from us as well. All micro interns are independent contractors of Parker Dewey. And then for paid projects, the student receives typically 90% of the payment, of the total project cost, and Parker Dewey retains 10% just to cover our own administrative burden and the HR process. The whole process is very transparent on the Parker Dewey platform. Whenever you post a project, you will always see upfront what your cost is for that particular project, as well as what the student will be earning. And so why is it set up this way and what are the benefits? And so for you, it just makes it so much easier. You aren't spending time onboarding or training, especially because these are very short-term projects. And you can look at kind of potential roles beyond just what a student is seeing on your website or when you come to an event on UIC's campus. The student's getting a chance to get to know you as an organization before kind of deciding like, I want to know more and I really want to go talk to this company. And then you're getting a chance in many ways to audition a student before you kind of proceed with investing in them as a full intern or a part-time or full-time member of your staff. Also, these micro-internships do tend to be remote. And so again, we're not asking you to find a desk space or a computer for them. The students are responsible for having their own laptop or just materials needed to complete the project. We also do not expect you to turn over the keys to your internal processes or systems or tools or anything like that. We will work with you to scope out projects that can exist outside of that. So a lot of the projects are going to be done using either publicly available data or a student's going to be able to offer insight without you having to share like your passwords. And so when I think about an example of that, we see a lot of social media projects, for example. We are not asking you to share your social media Instagram passwords with the student. Instead, the student can put together a 4-week content calendar, or maybe they're developing messaging that you can then use and plug in where it works for you. So the student, again, is not on the inside. All work that the student does is owned by you, and so you're welcome to use it if you like. Okay, so why do employers use Parker Dewey? There's a couple, really 3 main reasons, and I'm going to go over all 3. So the primary goal for a lot of our employers is to really use this as a recruiting tool. And so this is designed to help you think about one of 2 things. First, that confirming fit and hiring with confidence. And here's where you may want to think about that micro-internship project as an audition, kind of as I mentioned before. You might see a lot of resumes when you come to a career fair or recruiting event, and you find, you know what, they kind of look the same. The students all have the same major, similar GPA, they've taken the same kinds of classes. And so how do you decide if student A is going to be a better fit for your culture versus student B? So by posting a micro-internship project, you're really giving students 15 to 20 hours or so, which is confirming their ability to do what you're going to be asking them to do over the long term, and making sure that they're proactive, they have some of those soft skills, they're following through, good communication skills, and they can really stand behind that skills section on their resume. If you're used to visiting campus and going to recruiting events and fairs, you probably see a lot of resumes, that are going to be the same. And this is, again, how you look past what you might find from just a phone screen to actually seeing their skills in action. Secondly, employers use us as a resource for building that talent pipeline or for brand awareness. Great resource for building more relationships on campus or even keeping it as a keep warm strategy. This time of year, I'm sure Liz knows this, we start to see more renegs, we start to see some ghosting. And so this is really a great opportunity for companies, to kind of make those connections and start to build out that information for their students. It's very common with today's college student to maybe want to talk to a company at an event of the brand that they've heard of before. So they're more likely to go talk to Nike because they're familiar with Nike as a product. They're less likely to talk to Horizon Incentives because they haven't, they're not as familiar with that brand name, even if that organization may be a perfect fit for what the student's looking for. And then also, this is helping students as well. I mean, we also want to make sure we're serving students by helping students think through where they best fit, understanding what an organization is a good fit for them. This is helping them with their major, with their class selection. And again, you may be wanting to start to meet students earlier in their journey. Maybe you're seeing students senior year, and by then maybe it's too late for them to go into your internship pipeline. And so again, by offering these micro internships and maybe targeting it at freshman or sophomore students, you're starting to get ahead of the curve and you're making connections with students while they're still early in their college career. So by the time they're ready to apply for your junior level internship, they've already become familiar with you and you've made that connection. Finally, we see a lot of organizations of all shapes and sizes use micro internships for on-demand support, kind of that get stuff done mentality. We often see nonprofits, community organizations, entrepreneurs also really love this option, especially if you're not yet active on UIC's campus or doing a lot of recruiting there. Also really great for companies that maybe don't use campus recruiting at a large scale or just need early career help from time to time. For example, maybe you also need somebody seasonally. So you have a major event coming up and you just need somebody to put together a list of potential vendors for you. That would be perfect for a micro intern. The student is still getting paid professional experience, which will benefit them in their career journey. And then for you as an employer, you're going to benefit from getting the support you need at a low cost and with very little administrative burden. You're not paying a third-party staffing firm, and there's no finder fees or anything like that. If you meet a student that you like through our platform who successfully completes a project, and you're interested in bringing them onto your own payroll down the road, again, for an internship or full-time job, there is no conversion costs or anything like that. So 3 kind of primary ways where we see companies work with Parker Dewey. So while you're getting help on a project, you're also getting insight into our candidate intelligence platform. And this helps you, again, the data, right? So it's helping you build those relationships with students. You're getting those insights on their skills, really deepening that relationship with the school. And really what a lot of employers are concerned about right now is understanding cost per hire and who is applying. And so focusing on those first 2 use cases that I talked about, that confirming fit and building your pipeline, you can see that this works really well. You see, first, it's, again, a really cost-effective way to recruit early college talent. And when you're making those hiring decisions based on real insight and not just hypotheticals or just kind of looking at a resume real quick at a crowded event, you're able to make better hiring decisions. There's less opportunity to make bad hires when you hire with Parker Dewey. It's also really easy for you to connect with talent quickly. You can post projects whenever you need to year-round. This is not necessarily tied to a class or an academic semester. You can post projects in the summer, over winter break. You can post a project today when we get off the call. And typically within 48 hours, you will have students applying. We also work really closely with our team over at UIC, and they're happy to promote projects that are open for their students and kind of get the word out as well. So we all work very closely together to make sure that you're getting the candidate pool that you need. So for recruiters, again, this is easy. We're not asking you to revamp your entire process or stop doing exactly what you're doing, but rather looking at micro internships as a way to make each step in your process more meaningful. It really makes sense within your existing efforts. So a few examples. You go to that career fair. I keep talking about that. You invest in the travel, the time away from your desk, and you speak to so many talented students, but you never hear from them afterwards. It's not necessarily because they aren't interested, but rather they just may not fully understand your process. And wouldn't it be ideal if the student leaves your table or has some sort of action item, next step related to your company, like, hey, I see you're interested in us, apply to our open micro internship. We're using this as a tool to kind of pre-screen students and get to know them, almost in that, again, audition capacity, to start to build that excitement. Also, you can post micro internships before you go to campus. Maybe it's a great way, again, on that building pipeline example, you can get students excited about you and have a pool of students before you even step foot on campus. So, if you're thinking about trying to make a case to start recruiting at UIC, maybe you're not active here yet, but you're trying to get the budget, you're trying to get the time, post a project for UIC students, and then you'll start to see kind of who's interested and who's applying. And it's much easier to make a case back to your leadership to say, hey, we posted this HR project and we got 50 students quickly. So just a great way to kind of help you enhance what you're already doing with campus. So I also want to make sure we have a really good understanding of exactly how this helps with that confirming fit goal. So we will work with you to design your micro internship. You might be thinking like, I don't have any ideas or I'm not really sure, what to post. And so maybe there's not a project in your mind right now that's top of head, not a problem. Send us a job description, send us an open JD for some sort of internship or entry-level role, and we can kind of help transform that for you into a targeted micro internship. So in this case, we're looking at an entry-level data marketer role. You sent us a job description, and then we'll kind of unpack that and kind of come up with a great micro internship and what that might look like. and you kind of see some skills that are able to be pulled out from there. Again, you'll see here, you're not sharing information or access to your system. The student is primarily working on a research project that they can do independently using publicly available data. And then from there, they'll turn in their recommendations to you, and you can use it if you like, or just use it to evaluate the student and their skills. So I want to share another example of a micro-internship put into practice with a real life company. Smith & Nephew is a large organization. They have a great rotational program, but they didn't necessarily have the brand awareness among students. So that example I gave before about Nike versus like Horizon initiatives, for example. So that with this leadership rotational program, they were struggling to find enough good quality students. So with our help, they designed a project that helped assess their skills for the program, but did not require a lot of extra effort on their part. The project was very simple. Here are our projects. Pick one and create a pitch deck. That was primarily the scope of the project. They were also able to determine what students were showing genuine interest in the opportunity. And the student has some friction in the process, and that is intentional. They have to take the time to apply. They have to take the time to answer some short answer questions that you can design, so that you kind of see who has is taking the effort to put some thought into this application process. For you, it's really simple and easy. And so the student also has to deliver a deliverable that's thoughtful, error-free, good grammar, good communication skills, etc. And so when the project was done, not only did they have some great outside opinions on their products, courtesy of these students, but they had actual real insights and examples of the students' real skills and abilities. They were able to identify 6 students out of the 12 that auditioned that they thought would be a great fit on their team over the long term. And because the students now had so much more insight into Smith & Nephew and understand what the culture was like and some of the team even, 5 out of those 6 were really happy to accept that offer. 100% of those 5 were still at the company over a year later. So many benefits here. The students weren't on the recruiting team's radar before. They were able to make impactful hires, and all this was accomplished for less than 40% of their typical hiring costs. So really a win-win all around. Few other examples. So maybe those employers that maybe don't have a specific hiring need, if you're on the call, you're like, I like this. I don't necessarily have something right now, but I would like to keep that pipeline going. Or again, I've never recruited at UIC before and I need to get my name out. Or, hey, I don't have the budget to make a hire this season, but I still want to be front of mind for students for when we come back. And so 2 primary flavors that we see companies use. So first would be this campus ambassador concept. And so here you can ask micro interns or students of UIC to talk about your company brand on campus, whether they're sharing your opportunities with their classmates, connecting with their peers, and really just getting students excited about all that you have to offer. They can do this on social media or around campus. And not only is the student getting some really great marketing experience or communication experience, but we also all know how much students talk amongst each other. Prior to working at Parker Dewey, I spent 17 or so years working in career services on the higher ed side. So I get how students talk to each other, and word of mouth goes a really long way into getting your name out in a positive way. And so, students here are sharing everything with their peers in social media, in their clubs, their student orgs, in the classroom, etc. So really great way to keep your pipeline humming when you can't physically be there. We also see companies post projects that are very straightforward and not necessarily major specific. And so again, I mentioned earlier, micro-internships are also great for connecting with first and second year younger students. And so these are the students that aren't necessarily going to show up to your events. You're not necessarily going to see them at a career fair or at a company presentation that you host. So you could offer them a research project or something similar involving some of their soft skills that allows you to get in front of the student really early, so that when they're starting to make decisions about their major or their academic plans, again, they're now much more informed about their goals by the time your internship becomes available. So in this case, we worked with Northrop Grumman. They had opportunities around a variety of majors, but really the understanding from students was that, hey, this organization probably is only going to want to hire like computer science students, right? Like they don't want to hire me. Same thing if you're maybe a hospital system. Students might think, hey, they're only here to recruit doctors and nurses. I better stay away as a liberal arts major. So whatever the case may be. But in this case, Northrop Grumman had opportunities across a variety of majors. And, they decided to take some of those and post micro internships. And so in this specific case, they had a project in the HR functional area. And we had a student that really had no idea what she wanted to major in. So she hopped onto Parker Dewey, took a look around and said, HR is something maybe I'd like to consider. I think I'll go ahead and apply for this project. And so by taking a chance on a low stakes project with Northrop Grumman, which is a major company, the student not only became interested in HR as a career, but also Northrop Grumman as an employer of choice. And so you can see her quote here, which was really a great success story. And so she not only became interested again in HR, but also with Northrop Grumman. And so that was really a great outcome. More than half of our micro interns who take our post survey report that awareness of a company that they weren't familiar with before was one of the major outcomes for them. So again, when you're trying to build relationships with certain populations of students or kind of digging deeper to what you're already doing here, this is really a great option for you. And here you get a look at the real impact. So seeing some of the numbers, the longer term outcomes, also great for reaching different demographics. 80% of the students that complete micro internships come from underrepresented backgrounds. This is especially an impressive statement when you compare to students that complete just traditional paid internships. When you look at that data, barely a quarter of paid internships are being completed by those historically underrepresented students. And then given so many Parker Dewey projects are remote, as I mentioned before, it also allows students that don't attend school in a major metropolitan area the opportunity to connect with so many employers. And so obviously UIC benefits from being right in the heart of Chicago, but maybe a student goes home for the summer, which is in a more rural area and doesn't necessarily have the chance to do an internship at a large company. By, again, completing these micro internships remotely, they're getting that opportunity to work with these different organizations. You can also see that the average cost per hire for campus recruiting shows real impact here with a 40 to 80% savings, which is huge. And then also look at that retention rate for students that complete micro internships. It's almost 100%. So using micro interns to find their fit really, really does make a difference. So I also want to shift and talk a little bit about something called Gigs for Good, and this is specifically an option for all of you on the call here connected to UIC. So we partner with a number of different funding sources. I mentioned before, I was sort of teasing this idea of being able to try out some free projects. Sometimes we partner with a state. So for example, Indiana is adjacent to many of you. We work with the state of Indiana. So if you have operations in the state of Indiana, for example, you would be able to post micro internships at no cost to you. But you'll also see an organization called the DeLuca Foundation. And so the DeLuca Foundation has a lot of interest in early career talent, and UIC is one of the schools that fits that, one of their goals. And so there is an opportunity for all of you on this call to post micro internships at no cost to you. The student still gets paid just like normal, but you will not receive an invoice or a bill for us for these initial projects funded by the program. So there's really a lot of times employers will say, well, like, what's the hitch or what's the red tape? There's usually almost no red tape. The only one thing I want to say today, though, is that this program is winding down and students do need to be selected to receive this funding before the end of May. So what we would ask of you is to just work with me or think of questions or anything, because we want to make sure you can take advantage of the funding before it winds down. So this is grant funding available for micro internships. You can post up to 5 15-hour micro internship projects. Again, the student receives payment just like normal, and you would receive no invoice. Again, the only deadline is that they need to be selected for this project before the end of May. They can still do the work after that, but the project needs to be up on the platform, and I'll show you how to do that, and the student selected in the system. So again, great resource for you to try out micro internships, or if you're a nonprofit maybe, or an organization that doesn't have budget, a great way to get some support while the funding is still available. So I also want to, on that same note, I want to mention that Parker Dewey and micro internships are for employers of all shapes and sizes. You could be a very well-known brand that has too many applicants and need a way to cut through the noise, or an organization, as I mentioned before, that doesn't have the brand recognition but has a lot of need and is trying to build that pipeline. Or you're a smaller or you're less known, or you're not doing a ton of campus recruiting this year because of budget. Again, great way to get stuff done and bring on micro interns when you need the support. So again, this micro internship concept is open for any type of employer, nonprofit, for-profit, government, whatever the case may be. And then we have that third use case, as I mentioned before, that gets stuff done. And I'm looking at my own to-do list over here. It's quite long. We all have those things we wish we could offload on somebody else. And so a great option is to consider a micro intern for this. You need help, again, during a busy time of year, planning for an event, support for a fundraiser, creating some, again, social media one time for you. This would be great. You can kind of plug and play as you need, and students are always ready to take on these types of projects as well. And so now that you see how easy it is to use Parker Dewey and micro-internships and some of the different use cases, I also want to launch one more real quick poll. Hopefully we've shared enough so that you can think about this. I'd love to know maybe how you think you might be able to use Parker Dewey, what that might look like for you. So which of those use cases that we talked about, whether it's that on the recruiting side, confirming fit, hiring with confidence, again, building your talent pipeline and brand awareness, or, hey, I just need some on-demand support. And if you're not sure and you still need to discuss, that's also fair as well. So if we can just take a minute, that would be great. I'm seeing on my end about equal on the building talent pipeline and brand awareness and just getting some on-demand project support. And that's great. And I've spoken with some of you on this call leading up to the webinar already, just introduced myself. And I got the sense that some of you are like, hey, I just need some help, need some support. And that's great. Okay, great. Appreciate the support. And then there's some that are like, I'm not sure yet. I still need to discuss. And that all sounds great too. All right, perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to end that poll. All right. And then what I'd like to do, I'm going to stop the share here. I want to show you how easy it is to post micro-internships. So I'm going to give you a quick look at the platform as well, so you can kind of know what do I need to do from here. So let me just make sure I'm sharing that. This is just a quick look at, we have a project library with example projects on our website. By no means are you stuck or restricted to just using this type of project, but it's just a way to kind of help you get started. And so, for example, if I go into a category, say I'm going to look at human resources today, and maybe we want some campus club research. So you can click right into this and view the template, and this gets you right into the platform. So this is what the platform looks like on the inside. You'll be able to put your project name. So in this case, campus club research, or maybe you want to put something else in here, the start and end date for the project. Here's where you're going to include what the student will be doing. So they're going to be, in this case, identifying 10 key on-campus club faculty members and other contacts that might have interest with roles with our organization. And then they also include the deliverable as well, provide information about the club, department, contact, etc. Information that would be useful for the organization, and then what the student would be able to add to their resume as a result. And so just some basic information. It does not need to be as detailed as a full traditional JD or job description, but just kind of a way for you to be thinking about what a traditional micro-internship project might look like. You'll put your location here. If it's remote, or if you do prefer on-site, that's fine as well. To receive that free funding, as I mentioned, prior to it running up at the end of May, under program, you're going to want to select DeLuca. Again, that's the name of this funded program. If you forget the name, you can always come back and watch this recording again, or just email me directly and we can talk through it. You'll notice right away that there's no cost down here. So these are for 15-hour projects. You see what the student receives, and there's no fee for you here because it's all covered by the funded project here. You'll also be able to mention if you want the student to be, DeLuca does require that they be current students. So other projects, you're able to select a recent alum as well. And then there's some short answer questions that I mentioned as well. This is your chance to put in, hey, I really need somebody that knows Microsoft Excel. So maybe your question is, tell me about when, where, and how you've used Microsoft Excel, for example. And then from there, you can post it. I do want to share that there is always somebody from our US-based operations team, an actual human being, not an AI bot or anything, that reviews every single project that goes live on our platform. So if there's any questions or there's missing information or they need more data, they will respond to you directly. So there will always be a quick review before it goes live. And so I mentioned typically within 48 hours, they're able to get a project live, but they're able to catch anything that you may have missed. And again, it's just another way to make the process easy for you. But just a quick look at what the platform looks like and how to start to generate some ideas. And then going back to our presentation. So again, I shared those kind of how to get a project started. You post it, you select who you want, the work gets done. And so I get a lot of questions like, well, do I interview the students? Do you match them for me? How does this work? So students will apply for your projects similar like they would apply for anything you have open. You'll be able to see the student's resume, their LinkedIn profile, whatever they include, as well as the answers to those short answer questions. all within the platform. You'll be able to reach out to them directly if you'd like to set up an interview with them, a phone screen, or a chance to connect with them. And then once you're ready to select them, that also gets done within the platform itself. And then from there, the student gets to work and turns in that deliverable to you by your deadline. We do recommend a quick kickoff call with the student. It's nice to kind of put a face to the name, talk through the project a little bit, see if they have any questions or anything like that. But for the most part, the student can get working. And again, we're not asking a lot of your specific time. At the end of the project, we do ask for you to quickly review their work. That's also done through the platform. Just takes a few minutes. And that way, our partners at UIC can kind of see how their students are doing. And of course, the student gets a copy of that feedback as well for their own professional development. And from there, that's really the only commitment we're asking for once a project gets kicked off. All right, so your next steps, and I'm only 3 minutes over, so I'm very proud of myself. But again, I promised my email address. It's there at the bottom. Very easy to find me. I'm just Emily@parkerdewey.com. If you're thinking, hey, my next step is that confirm fit and hire with confidence or building that talent pipeline, which was one of the biggest poll answers we saw, feel free to reach out to me directly and I can help work with you in your next steps. If you're thinking, hey, I just need to get stuff done, go ahead and get it posted. You're welcome to do it now. You can take advantage of those funds from DeLuca right away. And again, if you need any support along the way or you get stuck, again, you're always welcome to reach out to me as well. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I am very happy to answer any questions. I don't think I've seen anything in the chat yet. Okay. So again, thanks for the time today. If you have any questions at all, I'm happy to answer them directly. You can put in the chat or, if you'd like to unmute, whatever works for you.
Well, we wait
Liz,
for any
anything I missed?
questions.
Okay.
No, oh, sorry. I just wanted to say thank you so much. This is fantastic. And I'll say that in my office, we have also posted opportunities. And so we can say, we've used the platform. We have been able to recruit students, and the process is seamless. And it's just been great to have micro internship opportunities. So, and then when we have questions, we can always reach out to you all. You're very responsive. So I really feel like this is a win-win. So thank you. And I feel like it's such a great opportunity for students and employers.
Yes, thank you so much. Appreciate all of you and your well wishes. And again, I'm very reachable, great to get a hold of. Appreciate your time. And I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar in just a minute.